A new CNN poll finds 75% of Democratic voters want the party to nominate someone other than President Joe Biden in the 2024 election. But why exactly are Democrats feeling dissatisfied? What do they want President Biden to do? We assembled a group of Biden voters from across the country to try to figure that out. Here is part one of our Pulse of the People. Okay. Show of hands, how many of you are very happy with how his presidency is going? Okay, that's a zero. Show of hands, how many of you would say you're disappointed by his presidency? Okay, so 5 of you have raised your hand for disappointed. Okay, Dhananjay.
I'm disappointed with Joe Biden because I haven't really seen much change. Like there's mass shootings, the overturning of Roe versus Wade, COVID-19 surges. I mean, I expected to see the change that the Democratic Party promised in the 2020 general election. He promised to end the chaos and division and unite the country, and it seems like he almost abandoned that promise.
We are no longer in a world of how politics used to run in D.C. when Joe was sitting in the Senate. We're not even in the days of when Joe was a vice president in the Obama administration. And I think we need to be doing everything we can and being far more aggressive. And that's the kind of Joe Biden I'd like to see.
Helena, why are you disappointed in Joe Biden?
Especially coming from Trump's presidency, who was so loud and so almost obnoxious and in your face about how he felt about certain positions. We don't see that from Biden. He's not. I mean, right before the overturning of Roe v. Wade, he said he was the most hopeful for the United States he ever has been. As a voter, I was kind of like, how?
I'm feeling disappointed because we have seen very little of the agenda that Joe Biden ran on actually come to fruition. I was a big fan of the plan for Medicare for all who want it. I feel like that's something that could be instigated with a stroke of a pen.
I sure didn't expect for Joe Biden to come in and be a miracle worker. We had one of the loudest, most egregious presidents of modern time, and all anyone really wanted was progress. And we saw almost immediately with, I would consider, lackluster long-term initiatives with COVID, a botched Afghanistan withdrawal.
Jeremy?
Well, I guess I'm more realistic about it, and I recognize the limitations of working with a Congress and a Senate that's filibustered. And, this is an incredibly narrowly divided legislature, and I feel like he's doing as much as he can.
I mean, he could be opening abortion clinics on federal land, and he's not doing that.
Yes, he can ensure that all military bases are able to provide abortions for anybody who is seeking one. That is something he could do.
It's been 18 months. He shot for the moon immediately and got nothing done.
I mean, you say he got nothing done. Let me just put up the accomplishments that the White House would say. The $1.9 trillion COVID relief deal, the $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure package. Unemployment was 6.2% when he took office. It's now at 3.6%. He rejoined the Paris Climate Agreement. More judges confirmed to the lower federal courts. He confirmed the first African-American woman on the Supreme Court. He signed the bipartisan gun safety bill into law.
All those things are great wins, but the gas is as high as it's ever been. Inflation is at a 40-year high, and COVID is still going.
I think, like the other people have said on the panel, it's more of just using his voice more, being more aggressive and being more assertive.
He's trying to pander to the far left progressives. He's trying to pander to the whole Republican Party, and he's trying to appease a mass of voters. At the end of the day, most people aren't the far right, and most people aren't the far left.
I think the problem that Joe Biden is having is not that he's trying to pander too far to the progressives or too far to more liberals. It's that he's playing it too safe in the middle.
I just want to stop you for a second, Vanessa, because isn't that the opposite? Bill Clinton, I think, once said, Democrats like to fall in love and Republicans fall in line. Republicans might have had issues with Donald Trump, but they were going to stick with their president and they were going to vote for their president. How many of you think that Democrats, yourselves included, might be too fickle and finding too much fault? Just to be clear, none of you think that Democrats are too fickle and are just finding fault.
So like Matt, I too am a former Republican. So I think I have some perspective on this, the falling in love versus falling in line. Yes, there is some eating of our own, so to speak. If you're not sufficiently progressive enough, or you're not sufficiently moderate enough, or whatever, I never saw that on the Republican side. Never. We never talked about politics on the Republican side. There was no need to research candidates. You simply showed up on election day and you voted for all the R's. I
think that what Biden could do more than anything is use his bully pulpit and say, this is insane what we're seeing from conservatism and from Republicans. It's outrageous.
Isn't he saying that? Isn't he sounding the alarm?
He isn't doing it forcefully enough.
Okay, so show of hands, how many of you wish that President Biden would be angrier and just show more anger?
I wouldn't say anger, but definitely fire.
I was going to say, I don't know that anger, we have fire in the belly.
Joe Biden needs to step up his game and be a little bit stronger and lead his party. The buck stops with him.